All right, we've got David Weiss here. He used to have a podcast for about 3 years called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, and I think he stayed down in the rabbit hole. He ended up coming out with a podcast called the Flat Earth Podcast. It's been a while since we've been talking about doing this. We're finally here. I'll just say that, David, you can talk a bit about your background on your own. I won't read the whole bio here for you, but thanks for coming on and having this interesting chat with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Love talking to people that have an open mind and are willing to listen and consider new ideas.
Yeah, for sure. We're in that category. I did listen to a couple of your podcasts, and you do a fun job over there. And we're, like we said, we've been waiting years to do this. At first I was like, no, we can't do it. It's like we're kind of like, we're participating in the PSYOP if we're going to even address it. But then we were going to send a balloon up,
yeah,
and we were participating in it anyways, subconscious or unintentionally. And our listeners, like there's a bunch of our listeners that want us to do it and a bunch that don't. So we thought, you know what, we're going to finally do this, and you're the guy.
Let me talk about that a little bit. I started a podcast years ago called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, and we talked about all of the deceptions, the false flags. I'm assuming that I don't know your audience, but much of your audience knows that a lot of the stuff that we're shown as fact is just completely fake.
Yeah.
So in the third year of this weekly podcast, people started sending me flat Earth stuff, and I would just delete it, and they would repeatedly send me stuff. I wouldn't watch a 1-minute video, and I banned not countless, but a good number of people from our social media. You're not even allowed to come here because you want me to spend a minute of my time watching a stupid video that has to do with the Earth being flat. That's utter nonsense, and I refuse. For 6 months, I wouldn't even watch a tiny video. Then I was talking with Sophia Smallstorm. Some of your listeners might be familiar with her. Yep. She did 9/11 Mysteries. She did Unraveling Sandy Hook in 2, 3, 4, and 5 dimensions. Must-see films that are no longer on YouTube. And we were talking about just a whole bunch of hoaxes and stuff that were going on. And I said to her, I go, towards the end of our conversation, I go, it's just unbelievable how much deception there is in this world. And she goes, oh, David, it's worse than that. I think the Earth might be flat. And I was like, are you friggin' kidding me? And she goes, here, watch this video. And I think what she sent me was either Mark Sargent's Flat Earth Clues, or it might have been another video, but I'm pretty sure it was Flat Earth Clues, which is a bunch of short segments, basically just asking questions that can't be answered in the helio-nonsensical model. And then I spent 2 weeks, 17, 20, 24 hours a day trying to debunk flat Earth. At the end of 2 weeks, I knew one thing for sure. We don't live on a spinning rock water ball rocket. And I didn't know what the hell was going on. And after that, started the Flat Earth Podcast because Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole just couldn't handle it. And here we are today, 4 years later, and Flat Earth is where we all live. It affects every single one of us every single day. And once you realize what's going on with the world, you can start seeing a lot of other things.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I remember in school, science class, or in elementary school, like learning about the solar system and the Earth that we live. I did find it hard to believe that I couldn't wrap my head around how are we standing on the surface and we're spinning at thousands of miles an hour or whatever. Like I just couldn't. That's one part I always had a problem.
But
with.
Isn't it like that when we're flying down the highway at 160 kilometers an hour and Night Rider, and I can just move around?
No, because you're not spinning. Like this is spinning.
Yeah, I mean that's the argument you get from everybody that says,
"Are you guys gonna gang up on me?"
No. We're gonna answer all your questions so annoyingly because we're gonna have an answer for every single one of them. It's gonna annoy you, and at the end you're gonna go, "Well, what does it matter? The shape doesn't affect my life." But we'll get there.
That's what people say, right?
Yeah. That's hey, how come you can drink a glass of water on a jetliner, flying 550 miles an hour, and you don't get thrown towards the back of the plane is what people say. And I say, well, now take the outer shell off the jetliner and double the speed, and tell me what happens to you in your water, because the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. I know it only goes around once per day, but it is changing its angle, its angular direction. So that is acceleration, and it's going almost twice the speed of sound. And people believe that they're on this ball because they were taught that before they had the ability to think rationally.
So I'm just going to play the devil's advocate here.
Go ahead.
That's fine.
So wouldn't that be like what the atmosphere, wouldn't they say that's what the atmosphere is doing?
All right, yeah. So they say that gravity holds the atmosphere on and spins it with the whole Earth. So stay with me here. You have the globe is spinning all around. So at the equator, which is the center of the axis of the Earth, that is going about 1,000 miles per hour. The quick math is the Earth is about 24,000 miles in circumference. It rotates once per day. That's 1,000 miles per hour, 24,000 miles. Everybody's with me there.
Yeah.
But if you are up in Alaska, and Alaska is closer to the axis of rotation, and you draw the circle on the globe, that's a much smaller circle. You're in Alaska, you only go around once per day, but you're only going maybe 300 miles per hour because you're closer to the center of axis. Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
Okay, so how does an airplane that's sitting on the runway in Alaska, it's sitting on the runway, so it's moving 300 miles per hour with the rotation of the Earth. It takes off, it speeds up to 500 miles an hour, and I don't care which direction it's going. It flies down to the equator. How does it land on the equator that's moving 1,000 miles per hour? Even if you took the 300 and added the 500 to it, the Earth is still outrunning that airplane. How can it land on a runway?
Well, I'm going to say the same thing, that everything inside the atmosphere is doing the same thing. So that's
how is that possible? If you're at the North Pole, you're not even moving. You're not traveling at all. How do you gain that 1,000 miles per hour when you get to the equator?
Well, that would only be relevant if you're outside of the atmosphere.
But it doesn't matter. How does the plane accelerate as you fly down to the equator? The Earth is going faster and faster. How does the plane catch up to the Earth? How does it increase its speed?
Now, I'll say this: I don't agree with the conventional model. There's a ton of holes in it.
Okay. Yeah.
But I would liken that to so Graham likes to drive fast. So we'll go on a road trip and we're driving, 100 miles an hour down the highway. But I could still take my little remote control car and set it on the dash and start driving it, 2 kilometers an hour across the dash or up and down the van of the car. And it's still going to go, and it's never going to get left behind by the car because it's still encompassed in the shell.
Yeah, that's not a fair analogy because the airplane is in the air. It's not attached to the Earth, and it's going to a part of the car. Every piece of the car is going at the same miles per hour. A spinning ball has parts that go different speeds in miles per hour. Same rotational speed, but its miles per hour varies from 0 to 1,000 miles per hour. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
So the other thing that's kind of along those same lines is you were mentioning how a plane, if you're traveling across the globe or across the flat Earth, however you want.
Wait, are we talking about
if you're
an
traveling
airplane
across,
or an air globe?
Like if you don't constantly go nose down, you're just going to fly right out of that's the other part that.
Yeah. So when you're traveling at 500 miles per hour, 550 miles per hour, the average speed of what they tell us of a commercial airliner, the horizon is dropping away from you at a mile every 2 minutes. So if you don't nose down a mile every 2 minutes, you're going to start gaining speed at a geometrically progressive rate as that curve drops away. And inside of an hour, you're going to be at altitudes that planes can't fly.
I don't fly a plane, so I can't really comment on that. I don't know that the planes or the pilots aren't doing that. But I mean, on the other thing, I'm still saying the plane is still inside. Like I'm saying, and everything inside the atmosphere is considered on the Earth. So the plane is still might as well be on the surface, whether it's flying or not. So until you get outside the atmosphere, then I think that's a different story. But otherwise, you could use the argument that the birds can't be flying around if we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. The birds would just be whipping by. But and the clouds couldn't exist because they'd be whipping by at 1,000 miles an hour. But I look at that as everything's sort of there, and the only thing
the
that's
atmosphere.
Yeah, so outside of the stars,
with the Earth.
yeah. So outside of the atmosphere, the only thing I can really point to are the planets and the stars, which do seem to be spinning by at 1,000 miles an hour.
What does that include? The moon? What if I told you in the flat Earth model that the moon is within the Earth's atmosphere?
Somebody just there was an
Would you
article.
say that's crazy?
No, there was an article that came out from the Russians, I think, that just said that they think it is.
Yeah, no, you caught me. I was trying to trap you. NASA has come out and said that the atmosphere extends out beyond the moon. We don't know why they're saying this. It's some sort of damage control.
You think so?
With that, I mean, all of the calculations of the Saturn V fake rockets to the moon would have to be changed. Everything, they tell us the reason the moon is orbiting the Earth is because it's literally falling around the Earth, but it keeps missing the curve and the Earth's gravity holds it on, and it stays consistent because it's not within our atmosphere. Now, all of a sudden, it's within our atmosphere. It's just lie upon lie upon lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see something about that, the Geoconora or something like that. But I mean, yeah, I that seems sketchy to me.
Well, you know what? Here's where we're going to go. As we go along, maybe if you guys have a notepad, make 3 columns. Works on a ball Earth, works on a flat Earth, or works on both, like circumnavigation. Let's talk about that for a minute. I'm going to tell you the answer to that one. Works on both in a certain way. So you just put a check mark in each column, and what you're going to find out at the end of this conversation, your first column is not going to have any check marks. The first thing is water always seeks its level. Water is flat, and anything that's a sphere, whether it's a baseball or the Earth, it has curvature geometry, and you can calculate the curve. And the curve of a 24,901 miles circumference ball in a minute. I'm going to tell you the answer to that one. Works on both. I'm hearing an echo. I'm hearing my voice from a minute ago.
I'm also hearing an echo.
All right, it seems to be gone.
Yeah.
So
good old Skype.
No problem. So the curvature calculation for the 24,901 mile ball is approximately 8 inches per mile square. After 1 mile, it's an 8-inch drop. After 2 miles, it's 2 times 2 times 8. So that's 32 inches. After 3 miles, it's 6 feet, and it drops off more and more. So you can calculate how much curve is going to be in between two objects. We can see too far. Optics. I'm hearing my voice from a minute ago.
I'm also hearing an echo.
Here it comes again.
It's back again. That's weird.
Right.
It happens.
It's just because I'm making a good point and somebody's sabotaging it. All right, so I'm gonna keep going if I can. The 24,901 mile is approximately 8 inches per mile square. After 1 mile, it's an 8-inch drop. After 2 miles, it's 2 times 2 times 8. So that's 32 inches. After 3 miles, it's feet, and it drops more. So you can calculate how much curve is going to be in between two objects. We can see too far. Optics. I'm hearing my voice from a minute ago. I'm hearing the same thing again and again. It comes again.
It's back again.
It happens. It's just because I'm making a good point and somebody's sabotaging it. You want me to drop out and come back?
No, hang on a sec.
It might be gone now.
Let's see if it happens again.
It did go away. Last time it happened, it went away almost right away. But that was too weird.
So commercial optics, super zoom cameras have outgrown the lies of NASA and the elite. We can see too far. The Nikon P900 zoom camera, it's 87 times zoom. We're seeing things that should be thousands of feet below the curve.
Right.
Now they've come out with the P1000, which is 125 times zoom. I'm hearing music now.
What in the fuck is... Huh.
Are you live on
All
a
right.
device that's patched in?
No, nothing.
All right, I'll try to continue. So that alone, we've proven there's hundreds and hundreds of tests out there where we've documented where we are, what height we're at, the weather conditions, everything. We've done laser tests. We've done mirror flashing tests where we're flashing the sun in a mirror at the beach level. And we're seeing, if the Earth was a sphere, we're seeing through hundreds and hundreds and thousands of feet sometimes of curve. And now we have infrared converted cameras and we could see much farther. As I was saying, I was down on the island of Vieques and I could see St. Croix over 50 miles away. It should be completely hidden behind the curve of the Earth, but I could see it.
Yeah. And that was with, so could you see it with your eyes or just through the camera?
There's the problem with seeing things with your eyes is our eyes have limits. We don't have Superman eyes, and we have it's called the angular resolution limit of the human eye. When something is, I'm holding my arms out this big, that's a huge span, and you can see it. But as that goes away, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And as things reduce in size due to perspective, when they get below 0.02 degrees, your eye can't resolve them and they disappear. So with your naked eye, lots of the stuff that we can't see is just because it's too small. Like a ship going over the horizon, it appears to go over the horizon on a clear day, but then you get your super zoom camera out, you zoom in, and there's the entire ship again. It disappears due to, there's a lot of reasons things disappear on the horizon, but it has to do with angular resolution and the thickness of the atmosphere just above the water. But again, a little elevation on a clear day, infrared scope, and we can see things that are way, way too far.
So what does the skeptics of the flat Earth say about that, about being able to do that? I mean, that's a pretty easy experiment. I mean, and it makes sense. Yeah. Like you shouldn't be able to see something 50 miles. It should be down 8 inches per mile at least.
Yeah, because I went down the flat Earth rabbit
not 8
hole.
inches per mile, it's 8 inches per mile squared. 8 inches per mile is a ramp, not a curve.
Yeah,
that's right. I went down that rabbit hole before, and I was looking at pictures of the whole Chicago over the bay, but then it was upside down, and there was a refraction thing. So I remember I went back and forth, and then I was going to fly a balloon up to the atmosphere, and then finally I came back hard. I came back pretty hard. I came back to sphere mongerer.
What brought you back to the sphere?
I can't remember at the time. I went down one side of it, and then I started going back up the other side of it, and it was a couple years ago now.
I think what happens is, and this is the same for me, is the conspiracy that you hear from the flat Earth side, maybe not you, and this is where we can dissect a bit between like what you're saying and what there's another flat Earth part where space is fake and all that. Like the conspiracy is so big and there's so many people in on it that that's hard for me to grasp that ultimate conspiracy of the and I mean the firmament and all that kind of stuff. So it's a tough one when you see the moon and it looks round and you see the planets, all the pictures of the planets, and they look round.
So let's talk about it before we go. We can go down. You can give me 100 reasons why you're questioning it, but we need to address them. The first one is, have you ever, has science ever been able to show high pressure next to low pressure without a container? I can tell you the answer. The answer is no, except in the helio-nonsensical model, we have a high pressure atmosphere next to the ultimate vacuum of space. And there's no explanation for the air being held onto the Earth and not being sucked into space. And the only explanation is the heliocentrist God, which is gravity. So they say gravity holds the air to the Earth, but I can disprove that in a second. I could take my lungs, which are a much weaker vacuum, take a straw and suck air up and away from gravity. I can suck water up and away from gravity with the littlest effort of my lungs becoming just a tiny bit of a vacuum. but the vacuum of space is unable to pull the air off the Earth, it makes absolutely no sense. It's never been proven. It's a religion. It's a belief. It's a nice story. It's not even a nice story. Can't happen. So there is something that's holding our atmosphere onto the Earth.
Electromagnetism?
There is some sort of container. Whatever it is, it can't be a force.
So how come you would accept that space is a vacuum if you don't believe anything else they say? Because
I don't accept space as a vacuum.
I don't think space is a vacuum.
No, he's talking about the model, the helio model.
Because I think we're coming back. We're going to end up coming back to the ether, I think.
Well, here's the thing. I like to draw the line between the heavens above and the earth below. We live here on the earth, and nobody without special access, like astronauts, has access to anything over, 100,000 feet at best, let alone over just the bottom of the earth. So anything above us, anything we see in the sky, the only thing we can say is, they're lights, the sun, the moon, the wandering stars, aka planets, and the stars, they're all lights in the sky. I've looked at them through high power telescopes. Some of them look spherical. Saturn looks spherical with me with a lit up ring around it. I don't know what it is. It's a light. It could be the size of a plum for all I know, and it could be very close to Earth. Unless we have a way to triangulate it, and we don't know how big they are. We don't know what they are. You guys, if you ever go into the mountains and on a super clear night and look up at the stars, they're amazing, right?
Yep.
When you get away from the city into the dark, even get some altitude, there you could see the what we call the Milky Way. You could see amazing detail in the sky, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when you send a weather balloon up on a perfectly clear night with the cameras facing up? Before you let the weather balloon go, they can see all of the stars. What would happen as it gets up above the thickest layer of the atmosphere and gets higher and higher in the sky? You would assume in the helio-nonsensical model that the stars will get brighter and bigger and more, correct?
Yeah.
They don't. They all disappear before you get to 100,000 feet.
Okay.
I can't explain that. Okay? I don't know what the stars are. I don't know where they are. We were talking about the moon a little while ago. The moon is new right now, so you won't be able to see it. But in 2 weeks, you're going to have a full moon. Go out when the moon is full, and hopefully there's a bunch of little clouds in the sky. There's a light layer of clouds. And what you'll see is the clouds right next to the moon are lit up like the moon. Like if you had a bunch of cotton balls hanging in the room and you had a flashlight, if the flashlight was 100 yards away, it would light up all of the cotton balls. But if the flashlight was just a foot over that layer of cotton balls, it would just light up the ones right around it. And that's what we see when we look at the moon. It only lights up the ones that are right next to it, not the other ones. So what does that tell you?
But then how come I could move over, a couple hundred feet, or if I'm driving in my car and my
yeah, but it's still the same effect. It's still a small,
because it's your view of the moon that I don't.
Correct.
What about so when I watch the sunset at night, how come I can see it shine on the underside of the clouds?
No, you can't. You think that you're seeing that, but that is just optics in the sky. There's a lot of videos out about that. There's only one place, I forget the name of that mountain. It looks like there's a shadow going up from the sun, but what you'll never see is the sun shining on a ceiling. If you're up on a high mountain in Denver, Colorado, Mile High, whatever, when the sun sets towards the very end, the sunbeam should come in and hit a ceiling, but never ever has a sunbeam hit the ceiling of a level room. It always just goes away and sets due to perspective and a bunch of other things. I call it the atmospheric obfuscation deck. It becomes a point where the sunlight can't even get through the density of the atmosphere, whether they're clouds or even on a clear day. There's a certain amount of atmosphere that just becomes opaque. It becomes sky. I've filmed it a couple times I have a drone, And on a super clear day with zero humidity, so it has to be around freezing, facing west with a 4K camera, if you film the sun at the very end of sunset, you'll see it coming down towards the horizon, and then it'll stop. And then it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And before it turns into a pinprick and disappears, it actually disappears into the thickness of the obfuscation deck, I call it. And it just vanishes. I have a playlist on my YouTube channel. DITRH is my YouTube channel, and it's called Sun Fade Out Videos. I encourage people to watch them. They're like 3 or 4 minutes each. There's 4 or 5 videos. Watch them and think about what you are seeing. If you watch the sunset on a high plane where there's very low humidity in the air, the sun will shrink to a dot and then disappear into the thickness of the atmosphere. If you watch it over the ocean, which is always moist, where most people see sunsets, it will get magnified as it's moving away, getting smaller. So you're having this dance of perspective making it smaller and magnification making it bigger. So it doesn't even look like the size is changing. And then the cloud deck, which merges with the horizon, the sun just goes past that cloud deck and it looks like it's dropping below the horizon, but it's just sinking. It looks like it's sinking, but it's just getting blocked by the cloud deck. And there's experiments that you can do. There's people that have done the tests. People say, where are you getting your flat earth information? YouTube? YouTube is like the world. All the information's out there. A ton of it is garbage. But there's other people that have spent hundreds of hours, thousands of hours, and put the information together so you can see what's actually happening. And it's there. It's being heavily censored. YouTube is hiding flat earth truth. If you Google flat earth now, or YouTube search it, you get all of the propaganda, the Nat Geo nonsense. We've caught them being liars. You get the Flat Earth Society. No flat earther that I know of has anything to do with the Flat Earth Society. They are the #1 hit when you search, and they are a government-controlled disinformation gatekeeping site. So if you see anything there, know that the only people that think flat earthers think that are people that know nothing about the flat earth.
Do you ever see that green flash?
Wait, so how can we check that out? Because we live in one of the drier places on the planet, and we have about almost a mile of altitude. And I watch the sunset almost every night.
All right,
it sure looks like it's setting to me. How do you perceive it?
Yeah. So get a box or a room that is facing that has a ceiling, has an opening to the ceiling. As long as the ceiling is level, the sunlight will not shine up into and hit that ceiling. Never, ever has it happened.
Well, how could you ever expect that to happen, though?
Because if you're on a ball, the ball is tipping back. And
but the window of my house is only like 8 feet off the ground.
So rip down the wall of your house so it's just the ceiling, all right? I mean, I don't know what to say.
But I can see it, but I do see that on on the clouds. Like, have you not seen a sunset here in Calgary where right at the end of the night you see the underside of the clouds are all purple?
You're seeing it's an optical illusion what you're seeing. You're seeing in the sky. You're seeing through very thick humidity. You're not seeing. The underside of clouds are not being lit. It's all your perspective. If we're both standing at the beach at sunset, and we're a mile apart, you're going to see a line, that glare from the sun coming across the water to your feet. I'm going to see it coming to my feet and not to your feet, and you're not going to see it coming to my feet because we all see the sun and the moon relative to our own position.
That's right.
That sounds kind of weird, but for lack of a better word, I believe that the sun and moon that we see are projections. I don't have the right words for it, but it's a projection. And an example of that would be the sun that we see and the moon that we see are not the actual sun and moon. They're not the source of that light. And an experiment that you can do is imagine you have a room and you hang a sheet, like a bed sheet, a sheer light blue sheet in it. We'll call that the sky. Okay. You can kind of see through it, but not really. On the other side of the room, you have a bright light, and that's the sun or the moon, whatever. And we're on the opposite side of the room looking at the sheet, and you could see the light on the sheet. You with me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see the light on the sheet. But now if we both went to opposite sides of the same side of the room, where I'm on the left side, you're on the right side, and I'll see the sunlight on the sheet. If the third person went and put an X on the sheet right where I saw the sun, then walked over and put an X on the sheet where the other person saw the sun, we're both seeing the same sun in two different positions in the sky. That's how, in my opinion, we're seeing the sun. We're all seeing it relative to our position. It's being projected from a position within the firmament, outside of the firmament. I don't know. Never been there. No one's been there.
So, but isn't that the case with everything? Isn't everything relative to our position? And the argument with the sun is that it's so far away that its rays are, they're all.
So, you know what? Here, let's go with that. Okay, we've all seen the helio-nonsensical model of the size of the planets and the sun. The sun is a giant the blue yoga ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the Earth is a small pebble next to that ball, correct?
That's right.
You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So imagine you're on that pebble and the blue ball is a quarter of an inch over your head. Okay. If you looked up, what are you going to see your sky? You're going to see the sun horizon to horizon pretty much, right? Maybe you can see under it a tiny bit, but basically it's going to fill the entire sky because it's just right over the Earth. You with me?
No.
Yeah. Do you think that's the scale of the sun to the Earth?
No. I'm just saying. No. They're showing us a scale. Yoga ball to a pebble, and I'm just saying let's put them only a mile apart. So basically, the yoga ball fills the entire sky of anyone standing on top of that pebble. Okay. Now we're going to move that sun 93 million miles away. It goes from filling the entire sky to the size of a dime held at arm's length. Okay. So it's reduced in size to the size of a dime held at arm's length from the entire sky. There's no argument here. We all agree on this.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. If I doubled that distance, would you still be able to see the sun? Remember, it went from entire sky to the size of a dime. Now I'm going to double the distance. It's got to keep reducing. Are you going to be able to see it? Forget it. Let's say I 8 times the distance. Can you see it? Use your adult mind.
It depends on how bright it is.
No, I'm talking angular size. Okay. You use your adult mind. It went from the entire sky to the size of a dime held at arm's length. Now I'm going to make it 8 times farther. Okay. Can you still see it? And the answer is, for anybody with an adult mind that wants to think, is absolutely not. Well, guess what? That's called a light hour. NASA tells us that we can see other stars that are hundreds of light years away. Okay. 8 times the distance is 1 light hour. These numbers are nonsense. Okay. Again, let's do the same thing with an airplane. You ever stand under a 747? It's pretty darn big. Okay. And have you guys ever watched the ISS fly over? You see the light. It goes. You got your iPhone. It tracks it. Oh, here it comes. Boom. There's the light. Goes from horizon to horizon. It's as bright as a piece of the sun. It's amazing how reflective this tin can is. And it goes from horizon to horizon. So a 747 is approximately the same size as the ISS. It's gigantic when you're standing underneath it. It's the size of a football field. Okay. You put it up at cruising altitude. It's now the size of a pencil eraser held at arm's length. Agreed? It's a little small dot in the sky. Okay. If I doubled the distance of that, could you see it?
I don't know. This just sounds like it's just a bunch of hypothetical. Could you see?
No, this is not
we're gonna have to do better
hypothetical.
than that.
This is adult mind logic. If I doubled the distance, logic will tell you that you can't see it. Well, guess what? The ISS has not doubled the distance of a jetliner. It's 50 times higher.
I've never seen the ISS, so I can see a jetliner.
I have, and it's a light in the sky. That's all I can say about it. I don't believe it's the ISS. It's 50 times higher than a 747. And we think that we can see it with our naked eye. These are impossibilities when you understand the angular resolution limits of your eyes.
Okay. That's
Not
fair.
much of that
That's
makes
fair.
sense.
That's fair enough. But I want to get back to like when you do these experiments where you're looking 50 miles away and you can see something, they clearly should be way below the horizon.
Yeah. So the opposite argument that is, well, they're saying it's refraction and that it's it's the same sort of optical tricks that we're using the other way.
Right,
Ask that question again.
I'm wondering when you see something 50 miles away and it should be below the horizon, like that seems like a pretty easy experiment that you can repeat and that you've done many times
with
the mirrors and all that stuff. So what does the skeptics say about that? Like, what is their answer to being able to see something 50 miles away?
Their answer is that the atmosphere is bending the light over, and what you're seeing is a mirage. Okay,
of the real thing.
Yeah, which is nonsense. You know, the famous picture of Chicago across Lake Michigan. The weatherman showed a picture and he goes, "It's a mirage," and it's not a mirage. You can see it clear as day. You can watch it through the day and night, and it doesn't disappear. One of the researchers actually went there, got on a boat, and filmed it and drove the boat all the way across the lake, and it never disappeared. If it was a mirage, it would morph and it would have disappeared.
Right.
But it didn't. But it didn't.
Because I've seen some pictures where it's showing upside down.
No, yeah, that's the one he's talking about where the weather guy called it a mirage, probably.
Hey, and doubling back a second to the sun underneath the clouds. Again, these are things that are in the heavens that really we shouldn't be looking up to prove the Earth is flat. We should be looking down below our feet. But as the sun goes away due to perspective, it is getting lower from your point of view. It's going through more and more atmosphere. Its color is changing because it's moving farther away. And there's all sorts of optical effects there. You can do amazing things with that. I was in Vegas, Las Vegas, and I was at the swimming pool. It was about 3:00 in the afternoon. The sun was off to my right, and the hotel to my left was a completely mirrored hotel, and the sun was reflecting in that mirror and hitting the left side of my face. I closed my eyes, and I couldn't tell which one was the real sun, the reflected one off the building, or perhaps the reflected one in the sky. I don't know. Optics in the heavens above are there's 100 different ways to explain them. So that's not where to look. Look down here. You know, there is no curvature. It's never been found. We're not spinning.
So what about like shadows and elongating shadows and stuff like that? Is that the same thing? That's just the sun getting farther away?
Yeah, take a light, hold it over your head, and have somebody walk across the room. The shadow will change. You know, they say Aristophanes figured out with sticks and shadows that, you know, the Earth is tilted because this stick didn't have a shadow and this one did have a shadow. Well, that's assuming that all the light coming in from the distant sun is coming in parallel. But if you have a small local sun, like we believe on the flat Earth, you could have the light over here, no shadow, and the light over here, shadow. It's the same thing. It makes sense. You can test it. You can prove it. That one works on a flat Earth and a ball Earth.
So shouldn't the sun get less bright then as it's setting if it's getting farther away and going through all that extra atmosphere?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does too. Yeah, I mean, you can look at it when it's
a little bit, but I mean, if it's skinnying down to a pinprick, then I mean, well, I don't know.
But hang on. You've never witnessed a sun going to a pinprick. At least I don't think you have.
No, I haven't. No.
But I do a lot of sun gazing, and sure, the last hour of the day when the sun is really getting farther away, I can stare right at it. It doesn't hurt at all. It definitely gets weaker and weaker throughout the day. But again,
I would disagree with that. And I watch the sunset probably 4 nights a week.
The red shift, right? I mean, you can.
And we watch it go down. It's one of our little routines to stop what we're doing and go look out the back window and watch the sunset behind the mountains.
Right. Well, you're seeing the sun. Here's the mountain, right? Here's the sun, and it just goes away, and it looks like it's setting. See that?
But it doesn't your fist is getting smaller. The sun doesn't get smaller.
Well, that's because I don't have a lensing atmosphere in front of me. The other thing is, as I said, again, I want to get off of the optics in the sky. the sun that we see, we're seeing it in what we call our personal atmospheric dome. On my channel, DITRH stands for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. Maybe 10, 20 videos back, there's a video called PAD, Personal Atmospheric Dome. Can't really explain it here, but if you watch it, you'll see that the sun that we see when it rises, the sun that we see is less than 100 miles away. And when it sets, it's less than 100 miles away. These are my numbers. It could be less, it could be more. But that's where we see the sun. And it moves very slowly through the sky. It's not far away at all. So that's how we see it. And you can't, here's the problem. You can't triangulate the sun.
So if it's only 100 miles away, how come then I can drive from here to, Winnipeg and is it following me? Because
yes, it's following you.
But how come it's still sunny when Graham's still back here in Calgary 1,000 miles away? So
go back to my sheet in the room example. You got the sun on the far side of the room. You got the sheet cutting across the room. And if you are right next to the sheet on the far side from the sun, and you'll see the sun there, you can move all the way across the sheet and that sun will follow you, same size, all the way across. It will follow you all the way across.
But you said 100 miles away.
But it doesn't matter. Jump that scale. That sheet is 1,000 miles long from north to south. It doesn't matter. The sun will follow you. And if I stayed at one end of the sheet,
so is there two suns then? Graham has a different sun than I do. Like does Calgary have a different sun than Winnipeg?
You're not listening. The light on the other side of the room is there. I'm standing on one side of the sheet and I can see the sun on the sheet and you're standing there right with me. You see it, but then you walk across and that sun's going to follow you, but my sun stays right where it is. Are there two suns or are we both just seeing the sun relative to our own position?
That's a sheet though. I'm not driving for 12 hours straight.
The atmosphere is a sheet.
But you said 100 miles.
I don't care what 100 miles, 1,000 miles, doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. So again,
as long as the earth is flat.
No, I don't care what shape the earth is. I just know that it's not a spinning ball, a spinning rock.
Well, let's get back to that because you just said you think it's 100 miles, but I can drive.
No, he was just saying whatever. Okay. Make it for 100 miles. Like it wasn't supposed to be a specific thing. It was just what he just made. A general statement.
Okay.
So
at the beginning of the show, you had talked about how the temperature should change throughout the day as the sun rises and stuff like that. If it was actually the angle that causes the seasons.
Sure. So we're told that, if this is the Earth, it's tilted. And so when the sun is over here, the bottom of the Earth, the southern hemisphere, gets more direct sunlight and it's spread out more up here. And that's why we get winter. But then when when the north is tilted towards the sun, we get more direct light. Okay. That little tilt is causing the difference between Arctic cold and tropical highs, which makes no sense at all because you have to remember that that's just one tilt. The earth is spinning. So in the helio-nonsensical model. So at sunrise, the sun is 1 degree off the horizon. That's worse than a 34-degree tilt or a 66.6 degree tilt.
I agree.
Okay. It's worse. So if that causes the seasons, then every day at sunrise, it should be winter.
So what about the fact that the sun tilts away for 6 months? The earth tilts away for, up to, it's a 6 months, a 1 year cycle, but it's tilting away for 6 months instead of like 12 hours. So because I live in Canada and like when we get up in the morning, it's fucking minus 30. And if we're lucky, when the sun comes up, it'll go up a few degrees, but it's never warmer at, that's kind of the cycle we see here.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you a little app here. Let me just see if I can see this. So this is the sun.
Is this going to get me kicked off of YouTube?
No, this is my app. It's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. So if you see I have it going on a very fast forward here. The sun is on the hour hand, and every time it goes around, that's a 24-hour clock. Wherever the sun is, it's 12 noon at that point. Okay, so As it goes around and around, you see the outer yellow line is the Tropic of Capricorn. And when it's over there, that'll be December 21st. It'll be out there in the outer southern hemiplane land masses will have their summer, and it'll be freezing in the inner northern hemiplane because the sun is farther away. But as time goes on, the sun 6 months later will migrate all the way into the Tropic of Cancer, which is on the inner yellow circle. And then it'll be cold on those outer lands because the sun is farther away. And that's how the seasons are caused. You're
so
talking about,
can you show me December 21st on your app? Because I want to see why my days are twice as long on when your model. I'd like to see
that visual thing helps because I can't.
Yeah, because
okay, look, I can't stop it exactly on it, but here it is. And you see how the light wraps around when the sun is out there. The light actually wraps around. I say it's wrapping around the dome, but the night and day on this is taken from time and date. So these are accurate night and day. So in the winter, in the northern winter, the southern summer, we have some very long days in the outer lands. And then if I bring
go back there for a second, because right on that day we should be having some of our longest nights of the year. In what day?
In Alberta,
on December 21st? Alberta, Canada should be our longest night of the year. We should only have 6 hours of sunlight.
So let me get it. So and if you look at it, that inner shadow is keeping lots of the north in the dark.
But when I'm looking at your model,
no, you see that. See, if you look at where we are on the north,
it's light just as much as it's dark.
No, not at all.
No,
and by the way,
put it back up again. Put it back up again. This
has a little bit of a. Hold on, it's actually there. We go.
Like the closer you are to
look at it.
The closer you are to the middle, the more darkness you'll have. Again, the accuracy that I can get on this as far as the exact day and night, there's a lot of twilight in there. It's not dead on. It's just giving you a rough estimate. But
now can you show me June? Can you show me June 21st?
You're questioning.
That's my show.
Sure. You're questioning the day and night, which was dictated by time and date. These are actual readings.
No, I'm using my real life experience.
Here we go. This is close to.
So look,
close
now
to
on June 21st, it's darker for longer. This thing makes 0 sense.
No,
Are you going to tell me that there's more sunlight in that one, Grab? Can you?
Yeah, no, there's. It looks like there's more of a shadow in that one, right?
So that should be our longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere.
It's not. It's actually closer to the equator. I can't jump it out there. It only jumps 3 months at a time.
Like just for a second, Dave. Like on June 21st in where we live, it's like we'll get about 18 hours a day of brightness. 17 for sure. And on December 21st, we get that in darkness. So your app is kind of the opposite of that.
So here, I stopped it. Right there, the date is July 6th, okay?
Yeah.
And if you look at that light area, it's actually I jumped back. It actually
that's June 21st.
This is June 6th. June 6th.
So close enough. That should be my longest summer.
But you can look. There's some areas that'll have that have 24 hours of sun.
Yeah, that's right.
You're having very long days. Look at it. Look at the sun is encompassing the middle. Okay, so it is right. That's not the point of this app. This app is showing you actual readings, but this is how it works. Okay.
Okay. Can you send me the link for that app?
Yeah, absolutely. But if you just go on the Google Play or Apple and just put in flat Earth sun, and it's flat Earth sun and moon clock, it comes up. Also, listen, for those listeners that are new, in the app, you have this right here. Every day there's a new video, and I guarantee if you watch this video each day for 2 weeks, unfortunately, you'll become a flat earther, and there's nothing you can do about it.
All righty. So what are some of the other things that are a little bit easier to follow besides the solar and the lunar stuff? Like it's hard for me to wrap my head around the seasons and the fucking light and dark and all that. Like we've done
here's the problem with I can tell you guys that I'm a doctor, I'm an MD, and I gave up my practice because I don't like allopathic medicine. And I could tell you a great story about it. And you have two choices. You can go, okay, and your day's done. You have a new belief. And you don't have to do any further work. Or you can question me, figure out where I live, figure out where I went to school, call the school, figure it out, and find out I'm not an MD. That takes effort. Finding the truth is not as easy as believing a lie. A belief is the enemy of knowing. Belief is easy and lazy. We live in a world of the Twitter mentality, 140 characters, and then people tune out. If you want to know the truth about where you live, it isn't an hour, it isn't 5 hours, it isn't 5 weeks. It is constant researching, and not with the bias of trying to prove the earth is flat. It's trying to find the truth. I don't want the earth to be flat. I don't want it to be anything. I just want to know the truth of who I am, where I am, what I am. And it is observably and obviously flat.
Interesting.
Any questions from the chat?
We got one that asked how do the
chat, feel free.
How do the jet streams work in the flat model?
How do jet streams work? So tell me this. Did you know that, so remember the earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, okay? From west to east, right? It's spinning to the east, okay? That way, so we're spinning to west and east. Did you know that the jet stream at 40,000 feet is going 200 miles an hour faster than the earth is spinning? It's outrunning the earth. And most people think, well, the jet stream is because the earth is spinning and it's making the jet stream. The winds are outrunning the rotation of the earth by a couple hundred miles an hour. That makes no sense in your model. We've also shown the jet stream where they show it dips down around and then it goes up and then it goes down. And we've seen that jet stream that zigzags up and down. Lay that jet stream out on a flat earth map and it's a perfect circle. Okay. On a flat earth map, we have inner winds going one way. We have outer winds going the other way. And it's a beautiful orchestration of perfect circles. On the helio-nonsensical model, they're going up and down and curving. It's nonsense.
Okay, but using that as an example, I just watched you bend and curve and twist the dark versus the light in your app to make light fit your model. So, I mean,
No. I didn't do that. I took that from actual readings. All right. I took that from actual readings of where day and night are. I didn't make it up to fit the app.
Oh, no, I get that. I get that those are actual readings, but how come the darkness is half of the earth at some times of the year, but
and how come it's more, right? A lot of people look at that. Yeah, no, I'm with you. And that was a perplexing one for me. A lot of people say, the fact that because you've got to concede that the sphere model does a pretty good job of explaining that. No, absolutely not. I don't concede that at all. The flat earth, there's a video I'm trying to locate it on my channel, where it shows light coming into a dome. It's called Day and Night on a Flat Earth Debunked on my channel. And basically we show a simulated dome. We just use a half glass dome and we shine a light on it and we move the light from the outer track to the inner track and it creates the exact same light patterns that we have according to timeanddate.com. It's called Day and Night. Can you make me a mod in your chat and I could put links in for people to look and save?
Who are you in my chat?
I'm DITRH. I just put something in the chat. So if you make me a mod, I can share the links and people can watch them. DITRH.
Okay, don't do anything crazy. These people get crazy in here.
I'm just going to put some, listen, and again, if anyone that's just being introduced to flat earth hears this for the first time and believes that the earth is flat from what I'm saying, you have a problem. You need to verify this stuff yourself. You need to test and verify all of this stuff yourself. So what I'm putting in the chat now, or in a couple seconds, is the link to Day and Night. There you go. So people save these links, open them up in other windows, whatever, watch them after the show and put them in there. Another thing is that you'll have telling people that the earth is flat is literally like taking the ball away from a child that doesn't want to let go of their beloved ball, because it basically destroys everything that they've ever believed. And nobody likes that, having the rug ripped out from under them. It's easier to convince somebody of a lie than to convince them they've been lied to.
Well, yeah, but we kind of like to figure that kind of stuff out around here. We go against the grain in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I don't want anything to be true. I just want the truth. People say,
what about love?
People say, you just want it to be conspiracy. You just want clicks. I don't want any of that. I want the truth. And when I discovered that the greatest deception of all, the flat earth, it really is life-changing on so many levels. And once you understand how important it is, and that it's how the elite keep us slaves, then you'll understand why they're protecting this deception.
So what can we do? Like, we were going to do a thing, and we had kind of joked about it a couple of years ago. We didn't take it seriously, but you know what? You've almost reinvigorated the gas. So what can we do? How can we prove this motherfucker? Is it possible? Can we put up a balloon with a camera on it?
Yeah, we've done it. There's a YouTuber called Dan Dimensions. Watch him. He'll show you how day and night work.
Were you with him though? Like, I'm thinking like me and you meet up in fucking Arizona. We hook up a big fucking balloon with a camera and we hang out together for a few hours and we see what this fucking thing sees.
Well, we've seen it. We've sent up lots of balloons. I live on the East Coast.
You personally did that though, or just watched videos of them?
No, other friends that I personally know have done it. The Globebusters team has done it. Iro Landucci has done it down in South America. There's many of us. Dan Dimensions, another flat earther, is put tons of balloons up, and he is showing how day and night work. How day and night can be side by side, where daylight and sunlight are two different things. The sun is electric. We live in this electric magnetic world. And the sun is.
We're on board. We're
on board with that.
Yeah. So getting to your long days, you have these long days, but you don't see the sun the entire time. Antarctica has 24 hours of daylight. Lots of it's twilight, but they don't see the sun for 24 hours because the sun is too far away. But the sun is electrifying the nitrogen, which is the majority of the atmosphere, which fluoresces blue. Okay, so. And the way to prove that is the sun comes up on one side of my house. It's still on the horizon. I could be on the other side of my house and read the newspaper. How is that light getting to me? It's electrifying. It's putting on the daylight in the sky. It's like a photographer. You have your main flash and you have your backlight lighting everything up. Because if you just had a flash, it would be like the Blair Witch Project. So you have daylight and sunlight, two different things.
Well, now is that how the moon works too? Then instead of it being it's more of a light source on its own from like a Tesla coil from the sun. Is that what you believe?
Well, I personally believe that the moon is its own light and that it gets its power from the sun. And the position of the sun to the moon does correlate to the areas of the moon that are fluorescing, for lack of a better word. The moon, we're told is a dusty, dirty rock. We've seen the astronauts on there, which is just nonsense. And we're to believe that from 238,000 miles away, the sun at 93 million miles away is lighting up that dirty, dusty rock. That's reflecting to the earth so bright that we can read by it at night, and it's casting shadows. Okay, and it's creating moonbeams through trees. That's ridiculous. Okay. And if you look at it, it's illuminated. A full moon is illuminated equally from end to end. If you light up with a single light source, any ball, there's a hot spot in the middle, and it fades out through the outside. Okay, that's not what we see. We go look at the full moon next time it's out there. It is its own light. Did you know that the sunlight puts a fire out, where moonlight makes a fire burn bigger. There's also a lot of people that say that, and there's experiments. I'm still on the fence about it, but there's a lot of experiments that are really making me look that when you're in the moonlight, it's colder than in the shadow on the same evening. There's lots of variations there, but I'm seeing more and more tests that are showing this. Again, I'm not saying that's a flat Earth proof. I'm just saying it's very interesting of what is going on. But
I think it's an electric universe proof, maybe.
Yeah, well, sure. There's the electric universe group. They think that it's heliocentric, but they're a lot closer to the truth, knowing that that's electromagnetic in nature.
What causes precession in the flat model?
Precession of what? The stars?
The equinox.
Yeah, I don't really. Have you been around to see that? We're told that the North Star wasn't always the North Star, and in 40,000 years there's going to be another star that's the North Star. But we just happen to live in the time where the North Star is the North Star, and it hasn't moved in all of recorded history.
But we do see like ancient monuments that are a little offline that would have probably been lined up 10,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago.
I don't agree with that at all. We don't know what was lined up with what, but there's still stuff that's lined up today. I mean, a lot of people use the Stonehenge as proof that we're flat and stationary because it's lined up with whatever star it's lined up with. But do you know that Stonehenge was built in the 1950s?
Well, no, I didn't know.
It's a fake. It's complete fake. There's a channel, there's a video on my channel. Just search DITRH Stonehenge fraud. And I'll show you the actual video of it being constructed in the 1950s.
Wow. I don't think I've ever heard that one before.
Yeah. I thought I heard that they moved it.
It doesn't matter.
Even if
they moved it, that's not the story they're telling. They're telling that this is it's a complete fake. It's total fakery. All of our history is a lie. They say, people have known the earth is flat for 500 years. Personally, I don't think we've known it for 150 years. In the late 1850s, early 1900s, people still were teaching flat earth, and people were being persecuted in the early 1900s for trying to teach heliocentrism.
Really? I thought that was like 300 or 400 years ago.
Well, that's what we're told, but again, nobody knows what happened over 150 years ago. Right. There's all sorts of stuff that went on in the 1850s that blows us away. All of these buildings that were built. If you go to Boston, there's these architectural buildings that we'd have difficulty building today, and we're supposed to believe the Pilgrims built them. I mean, it makes no sense.
Well, we're supposed to believe slaves built the pyramids. And I would believe that a lot of our history is a lie. I would agree with you there too. But I mean, I don't like the idea of just throwing out precession or saying, we can't see it.
I'm not going to answer precession because I don't know enough about it. There's other guys that have done the work on precession, but if you really want to find out about it, tune into the Glowbuster show on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern live, and join the chat there. Throw in your questions. It's a 3-hour, 4-hour show that gets into all sorts of stuff. And if you really want to learn about the flat earth, that's one of many good places. Another great place, because YouTube is hiding the answers, is I take the best videos, most of the best videos, and we put them on the Flat Earth Podcast Facebook page. If you want to really learn about flat earth, just go to the Flat Earth Podcast Facebook page or website, and start going through the videos there. Like, if you're like, hey, what about eclipses? How do eclipses work? Or how does circumnavigation work? Just go there, scroll down, find the one that says circumnavigation or eclipses, and watch it. Want to talk about circumnavigation? Is that one proof that you guys think proves the ball?
No, I don't care about circumnavigation. I'd be more curious of, well, like I said, precession was one. Another one would be probably like why when we witness a lunar eclipse, the Earth's shadow appears to be round. Is that just a joke? Like, so I could see if the people in control are trying to convince us that the Earth is round instead of flat for whatever reason, that's one thing. But if the shadow of the Earth is appearing to be round during an eclipse and the moon phases and everything,
let me answer that one for you.
During eclipse, I mean, does that mean the Creator is trying to trick us as well, or whatever created it, the universe, whatever they're trying to?
Let me answer this one for you. We're all programmed as children by the Bill Nye, the scientist, Neil the Ass Tyson, and Lying Box. These are the three figureheads they put out there to brainwash us, and we've been brainwashed to believe that only a sphere can cast a shadow of a sphere, no matter what angle it comes in from, on another sphere, and that's absolutely false. Okay, if you take and you can do this yourself. Get a ball, a basketball, and a tennis ball or whatever, and a single source light, and move that ball, eclipse the other one with the light. A sphere making a shadow on another sphere starts off as a long ellipse. It morphs out, and then it leaves as a long ellipse. If you want to cast a perfect curve like we see, on the moon, you can do it with a straight edge. A straight edge will cast the same. And I am not saying
that only works if the moon is round.
I am not. Hang on. I am not saying that a straight edge is causing the eclipse. Okay. But a straight edge will create the closer to the shape that we see during the eclipse
on a sphere.
Then on a sphere moon. A straight edge blocking the light versus another sphere blocking the light.
I thought the moon was a light.
Hang on a second.
Okay, sorry.
I'm talking about the helio nonsensical model that you believe in. I'm using their examples showing you that they're telling you that only a ball can do it. Only a ball can't do it. Okay? A ball can't put a circular shadow evenly as it passes over another ball. A straight edge can. But I don't believe that it's the Earth at all. There's been over 50 documented eclipses called Selenian eclipses, where the sun and the moon are visible at the same time above opposite horizons during the eclipse. Okay,
oh, wow.
So that eliminates the Earth from being part of it. Now, again, we're back up into the sky trying to prove the Earth is flat. Also, the shadow comes in from the top of the moon rather than the bottom. There's some people that say there is ways where optics can do that. I'm not going to disagree with that. Again, there's many different ways to show that. I've also have a couple of videos on my channel that show with a projected sun how a moon can eclipse the sun and you can never see the moon. You know that nobody has ever seen the moon approach the sun for an eclipse or exit the sun? We only see it eclipse the sun, and never from anywhere, from a space shuttle, from any point on Earth, in any conditions, has anyone ever seen the moon approach or leave the sun. So is it really the moon that's doing it? I don't know the answer.
But we're sure able to predict them pretty accurately.
Yeah, well, guess what? You know that all of the eclipses come in 18 plus or minus year cycles, and they've been predicted for long before heliocentrism was ever announced, was ever created, and the NASA uses one guy to tell them when all the eclipses are, and he uses the method that was used long before heliocentrism was ever announced. Have you guys heard of the Antikythera mechanism?
Yep.
Okay. Well, that thing predicts all of the eclipses and positions of the planets long before heliocentrism.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's pretty old. That's a couple thousand years old now. So what's the main reason again? Did we go over that about why you think that, or why the flat earthers think that this was all
I mean, I think it's all a simulation. So,
like, why are they doing this? Like, why all the fakery on this?
Why are they hiding the flat Earth?
Yeah, control or...
Yeah. So there's a thing called natural law where basically I'm not allowed to kill you, get in your face. So basically you have to not break your free will. And the elite know this, and they cannot break free will. So what they're doing is hiding the creator. They don't want us to know where we are. They don't want us to know that there's more land, most likely. They don't want us to know that we are the center of the universe, that we are special and powerful beings. And they're basically keeping us in a low vibration of fear, thinking that we're an insignificant speck of dust in an infinite expanding universe, flying out of control, and we don't know who we are. If everybody woke up to the flat earth tomorrow morning, that would be the end of the elite's control. What have I told you? There was possibly hundreds of more continents out there.
I'd say you're
more
crazy.
Land. You would say I'm crazy, but again, we don't know what's beyond the shoreline of Antarctica that surrounds our world. We don't know what's in certain parts of our ocean that are uncharted.
Antarctica is a weird one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree in a lot of that stuff about the free will and the elite. I mean, they do. I mean, there's a lot of, the low vibration, the fear. I mean, we're kept in a constant state of fear, but
fear takes away your power. When you're FDR said the only thing to fear is fear itself. That's the truest statement ever made. When you are living in fear, you lower your vibration and you can't create your reality. We live in this magical world where our thoughts create the world that we live in, and the elite are controlling our thoughts through media, through
education,
the indoctrination system. I mean, think about it. You're the elite, and you're in charge of what goes into textbooks, what's taught in all the universities and all the public schools. And you could teach people stuff that would empower them and they make them one day question your power, or you can teach them what will make them perfect little government slaves.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Okay.
I agree with all that too.
They underfund schools, so schools can't buy their own, they can barely afford anything. And then they sell them textbooks below cost. So nobody, that like, hey, I got an idea. I'm going to write a real textbook. I'm going to print it and I'm going to sell it to the schools. Well, guess what? I'd have to sell it for 10 cents on the dollar in order for the schools to be able to afford it. And who's going to do that?
Well, they better be careful because if too many of us start believing the world's round, it might turn round.
Belief is the enemy of knowing. Okay. It's not about believing anything. It's about knowing. You guys believe a lot of things. I used to believe a lot of things. Somebody mentioned a while back in chat about extraterrestrials or aliens, I think they said. I believe that there are extraterrestrials. The words have meaning. Extra territory, extra land, extra terra, extraterrestrials. Those are people that live on the extra land, perhaps beyond Antarctica, perhaps in other parts of the oceans. And they're here. There's a video on my channel called The Outward Flow of Civilizations with myself and Sophia Smallstorm. Anybody wants to look into how civilization flows outwards. It's not proven, but there's a lot of evidence leading towards it, that there are other lands beyond the shoreline of Antarctica.
We should go. We should send Graham.
Yeah,
we were going to send Graham on the Antarctica skiing expedition, but it's like 2 months long.
Here's the flat Earth map. Here's the North Pole, okay, in the center. You put a compass on here. The compass is going to point to North Pole. So if I want to go west, I'm going to go west, but west is a circle. And west is a circle on the ball Earth. Any straight line on this map from anywhere is south. Like I'm going here. This is north. Well, guess what? I'm going south now. I'm going west. I'm going south. Every straight line is south. And that is true on a ball Earth or a flat Earth. That is true in our world. And it actually doesn't work on a flat Earth. Okay. I mean, on a ball Earth in the southern hemisphere, because a straight line should head north. No, it doesn't even work. It doesn't even work. I said that wrong. It's a fact. People say, well, wait a minute. On a flat Earth, you have to constantly correct to the north to maintain your heading. That is true on a ball Earth too. And the way I explain this to people, what if you were 1 mile from the North Pole on a ball? Okay, you're on a ball Earth 1 mile from the North Pole, and you want to go west. But you get your compass out. It's pointing that 1 mile towards the north. Well, you got to make a circle around that north. right, to maintain west, and 3.14 miles later, you're back to where you started from. And you just keep doing that. The bigger that circle gets on it. So you're constantly turning right on a ball and on a flat Earth. It doesn't prove either. It just proves that you have to correct to the north when you're trying to go dead reckon east or dead reckon west.
Yeah.
Or you'd be. It seems like you'd be always correcting to the north, no matter where you went, to some degree.
Correct, except in the southern, south of the equator on a ball, you'd have to correct to the south to maintain your heading on a ball. But that's not what happens. We've had ship's captains on Mark Sargent's show. He does a show called Strange World on Truth Frequency Radio. And he's had Navy ship captains talk about when they're trying to dead reckon east or west in the southern oceans, they constantly have to correct to the north. It's a minor correction that you wouldn't even notice. But when they let the ship run for a long period of time, they notice that they have to correct to the north. And they could write it off to wind and water currents. But when they go in the other direction, they still have to correct to the north. And it's not, turning them a different way. So that's because the Earth is flat and you're going around a magnetic center point. And
if you were on a globe, you'd be correcting to the south. Yeah.
You would have to correct to the south, but that does not happen. Huh. Also, seasons prove the Earth is not a ball, because at equal degrees north and equal degrees south, you would have the same weather. But if you look at like 60 degrees north, we have polar bears, we have hundreds of different kinds of plants and animals in life. 60 degrees south, or I forget the exact number, but there's nothing. There's nothing there. Maybe a couple penguins. Any farther, there's nothing. You can't grow a toothpick there. It's because you have a completely different system, because the sun comes and goes away, as in the north, it goes around and it never gets far enough from you. In the north, there's we call it Crow's Law, Crow 777 Radio. This is Crow 777 Radio, one of the best podcasts out there if you really want to wake up. He calls it Crow's Law. Yeah, Crow's Law is anything that's interesting can and will be filmed in high def. Well, guess what? The 24-hour sun has been filmed in high def in Norway and Alaska countless times. We've had our own flat earthers go up and do it. It's been done. You can call hotels up there, and they're like, yeah, between these dates, the sun never sets. Never, ever has it been filmed in the South. There's 4 videos of the 24-hour sun, but anybody with an adult mind that watches them can see that they are fake beyond belief.
Huh.
So what about the 24-hour night?
24-hour night's easy. Look again. Look, when the sun is going around, and when it's out here over Capricorn, once it's a certain distance away, bam, it goes away, and it's never close enough to the inner land. So when it's out here, it never rises. So if you're on the flat Earth and you're at the North Pole, you're going to have 6 months of daylight and 6 months of dark. There's going to be one.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it does work like that. If you're exactly
at the extremes.
That's at the
North
extremes.
Pole.
You get about a month of each at the extremes. It's not
no. But no one's at the North Pole. Again, the North Pole is another hidden land. No one's allowed to go there. We were all shown that National Geographic video of the 4 explorers that went to the North Pole with their dog sled, and they're freezing. They got ice in their beards. Their dogs are freezing to death. They're running out of food, and then they finally get there, and it's blowing 140 miles an hour. The wind is crazy. It's freezing. The cameramen are freezing. And they're like, hey, we're here, and then they have to get back. And basically what that is a propaganda piece to make people say, I never want to go to the North Pole. Because
So you think it's dark for 6 months straight at the North Pole and light for 6 months?
No, I actually think that the North Pole is a whole nother world we don't have access to.
No, but let's say the northernmost point of access then.
Yeah, well, again, I'm speculating. Let's talk about a very northern part of Alaska.
Yeah.
We know that the sun doesn't rise for 3-4 months at a time. That's because it's too far away. It's out. It's in the outer southern hemiplane, and it never gets close enough to rise due to perspective. The sun is local to the Earth, and it never gets close enough during December, January, February to light up the inner northern area.
Huh. I have to get that app and play around on that. But we appreciate you coming on.
The Flat Earth Sun and Moon Clock app, get it, watch the videos, play with it. Oh, another thing it does, which you guys will like, is it has let me see where we are here. It can also show you the zodiac. So it shows you how the sun is. You can see right now that the sun is in Pisces. Let me slow it down. The sun is in Pisces, and after we're halfway through Pisces, so another couple of weeks, it'll start moving into the next constellation, and it'll show you how over the course of a year, those constellations will precess and outrun the sun by a full circle every 365 days. So
what day is that on right now?
Right now, the date is today. It's March 7th.
Right on.
Because I got it going fast forward. So we're at March 7th. We're in the middle of Pisces. We're going to go from Pisces into Taurus. I believe that's Taurus that's coming up next. And that precesses over the sun over a course of 30 days or whatever each cycle is, and it'll move through.
Right on. Well, I'm going to download that and we'll play with that for sure. Thanks for coming on the show, Dave.
All right, guys, listen, again, I've thrown some ideas out there for you to think about. You don't know what to look for unless you know if there's a question. Okay, so now you've got some questions. And if, for those of you that are new, go to the Facebook page, the Flat Earth Sun and Moon Clock. That's the name of the thing. The Flat Earth Podcast, and check out our videos. Near the top of the list, there's 2 longer must-see videos. The first one is A Stranger's Guide to Flat Earth, 21 questions. It'll answer your first beginner 21 questions in 2 or 3 minutes per question. And then it's Marty Leeds has the Flat Earth, the Ultimate Litmus Test. It's about an hour and 15 minutes. And that one will really fire up some thoughts in your head. And then you'll have a good foundation to ask intelligent questions and try to figure out what's going on. Yeah, but again, try to stay out of the sky because we don't have access there and there's too many answers. All the planets around and we're the only flat disk. Well, I don't believe in planets. The only pictures of rocky planets that we've seen come from NASA and Disney. Disney is the more credible source. It's also like saying, hey, all the pool balls on our table are round, so therefore the pool table must be round. It's not an argument. It's an observation that you can't verify. And that's really not a good way to go prove it. We can see too far. Water lays flat. You can't have high pressure next to low pressure without a container. And
stay away from the Flat Earth Society because they're disinformation, right?
Absolutely. None of us believe anything that goes on in there. That's pure disinformation. Flatearthpodcast.com for the greatest videos, not all my videos. And DITRH, my YouTube channel, has lots of 3, 4, 5 minute, 2 minute, 1 minute videos.
Okay.
Go through some of those, but a warning, my 2 minute videos are a gateway drug to hour and 2 hour videos.
Alrighty. So does the Flat Earth Society have more extreme, like what's the disinformation that they're putting out mainly?
Oh, they say, Sue, I don't even know. I don't go there. But one of the things the big thing they put out there, they have the disc, the turn up floating in space, where it's a flat Earth floating in space as their logo. They say that flat earthers believe that gravity has caused the Earth rising 9.8 meters per second, and that creates gravity. That's nonsense. The Earth does not move. And that's it. There's so much information out there proving the flat Earth. There's zero proof of the ball Earth. When people say, "Oh, there's tons of proof of the ball and none of the flat," that's the opposite of the truth. Ask them for one proof, and if it's a picture, show us the specific picture, because NASA even admits that they don't have any real pictures of Earth. They're all photoshopped CGI constructs.
There you have it.
Right on.
Well, maybe we'll go to the edge of the atmosphere together with the balloon, Dave.
Hey, one more video. When people ask about Antarctica, They'll say, there's thousands of people that go there every year. There are. You can get a little tour. It costs you $5,000 to $15,000 or $20,000 to go there for a couple of days, get a little tour of the edge. But they will never let you explore on your own. They'll bring you to a pole stuck in the ground and tell you that it's the South Pole, but it's not. It's just a pole stuck in the ground. You can. There's a video called Sorry, Antarctica is closed by Taboo Conspiracy. It's on our Facebook page. It's on, if you could find it on his page, YouTube's hidden his page if you search for it. But Sorry, Antarctica is closed by Taboo Conspiracy. That one, there's hundreds and hundreds of hours of research. And in 35 minutes or 40 minutes, he shows you clearly why you cannot explore Antarctica. Even if they allowed you to, it would be near impossible.
Well, I've bought your app.
All right.
So if nothing else, you sold an app.
That's why I'm in it for the money.
That's it.
And that Antarctica thing is a deep rabbit hole. Antarctica.
Oh, we do shows on Antarctica as well. I mean,
there's something funky going on.
Yeah, we
sure.
tend to go to there's like an ancient civilization under the ice, and there's a few pyramids down there, and there's some pole shift shit going on.
Hey, let me give it another
plug. Poles can't shift on a flat Earth, can they?
Not Project Veritas, but Veritas Radio. It's a amazing weekly podcast. And a couple weeks ago, they did a piece on the cube in Antarctica. Amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
Amazing. It fits right in with your ancient, your civilization down there, your advanced civilization. Why are all the elite going to Antarctica? They're all running down there.
Yeah.
Something's going on. I think that there's an advanced civilization living down there. That's just my opinion. And maybe those are the true controllers of our world that are keeping us slaves.
Yeah. Maybe.
Again, people feel powerless when they start realizing all of this stuff is going on. They're like, what can I do anyway? I still have to go to work. Well, guess what? When you say no, that is a powerful statement. And when you allow them to tell you what they're doing and then don't say no, you're saying yes. By saying no, I do not consent, and being aware of what's going on, you will gain your power back and you will take your power away from the elite. And we only need a small percentage of the world to do that, to completely depower the control system that is now in place.
Right on. Well said.
Excellent. Well, if nothing else, we got a good fight going in the chats tonight. Definitely a polarizing subject.
The trolls folloll me everywhere.
There seems to be a troll army that follows you around.
Yeah. It's only a couple of guys, a couple idiots. The couple of guys that don't like their ball taken away. I don't like to say that people are government paid shills. I just think they're idiots.
Well, I don't like anyone coming near my balls either, unless it's my wife.
No, but don't take my balls away, right?
Right
guys
on, Dave.
Like
it's been a blast. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for being
David.
such a good sport about it all.
All right,
and best of luck.
This is Anunnaki. Okay, nice. Long before I realized that the Earth was flat.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Okay,
right.
Dave.
Okay, see you later.
Ciao,
hey guys.
And that was our chat with David Weiss.
What'd you think, buddy? Are you back in on the thing? That was a doozy. It was fun. If nothing else, I mean, I'm not sold.
No, obviously
I'm not close to sold. And you know what? It's kind of
get a little irritated. I don't think I've ever seen you so
twice in one night.
Yeah, irritated about.
Well, I just
you're just like
I get
a couple times you're missing his point in a way. Like he wasn't trying to be exact. You're like, what? 100 miles? Like,
well, I think the problem is I think you need to be somewhat exact if you're going to start talking like
but
you can't use crazy analogies like the Earth is this far away or 100.
That's why I asked that.
Because right
scale,
away
right?
I'm just
I was thinking,
okay,
is that the scale? That's not the scale. So
it can't work.
But he was
like
going. That. He wasn't. That wasn't his point. His point was if you take it that far away, like if it's covering your whole view and then you take it 80 times away or whatever. But those analogies are hard for me to follow.
Are you back on the Gasa?
No, man. This is our show. We done it. If we stumble across it, I mean, look, Alex Jones is going to pay for Eddie Bravo's trip to do that.
Oh yeah,
so
that's right. If Alex Jones,
guys,
if they flip Alex Jones, I'm in.
Yeah, exactly.
If Eddie flips Alex Jones, then I'll say it's in.
Yeah, it's
Anyway.
I'm not ready for this one. I'm not ready for the flat Earth. It's too big of a conspiracy.
It's too much for you?
Too much.
Hurts
with the
you?
space and the planets and,
Anyway, huge thanks to Dave for coming on the show.
What happens in our CE5 events when we're out there in the middle looking up at the stars or the lights? Maybe they're not stars. So how do you explain manifesting sightings in the flat Earth model? The firmament, like it's still beings in the firmament?
I mean, I agree with him on a bunch of points there, right? Like I agree with certain things he said, like certain levels of control, and I do believe that there's an active thing to take away our power.
Yeah.
I do believe humans are able to
manifest their
destiny and do different things like that, but I don't know about that far down the rabbit hole. Anyway, big thanks for Dave for coming on, hanging out with us. Check out his stuff, check out his show. Thanks to you guys. I'll put
links to all those videos and all those things in the show notes. He's very good at giving other people props.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll check all that stuff out. And support the show.
The chats
I'm just looking at the chats are blowing up on this one. People calling each other liars. Dave's deleting those ones now. Oh boy. Anyway, pandemonium in the chats. That's why you got to check out the live show once in a while. It gets crazy in there. Yeah, exactly. You got a troll army descending on our fucking YouTube chats. Anyway, Grimerica.ca/support. Send us the money to start the new YouTube channel since they burned this one down. We do need support, honestly. It's fun to do these kind of shows without any ads or any nonsense like that. We do want to be able to keep doing whatever the fuck we want to do, whenever we want to. So we can't do that without your support. Grimerica.ca/support. Aside from that, do everything else in the show notes. Review the show.
Share the show.
Send
emails email stories and sightings and stuff. Graham@Grimerica.com. Leave a voicemail, 403-702-6083.
That's right.
Put a 1 in front of that.
Most of all, be fucking kind to each other. Stop fighting in the chats. And thanks for listening.
Yep.
And we will see you next week. Thanks to the live people for chilling out, hanging out with us. And we'll be back in like a couple minutes.
What are we doing the intro for?
We'll figure that out in the interim. We'll be back with an intro for episode 333.